I had the school project to do. I was taking a class with Tandy Beal at the university, and we had to do volunteer hours in the community to support the arts. And everyone was doing like ushering for shows and all this stuff, and I was like, I wanted to start something new and fresh, and basically just create a space for people to dance together. And I hadn't started doing contact at that time, and I was really excited about doing contact. So I had this vision of inviting one of my friends that did contact to a friend's house that had a big wood floor, and we'd all do contact together. So I was at Atreya's house talking with Michelle and Atreya, and I think a couple other people were there.
I had this idea to have a dance church in the morning, and I hadn't done anything about it. I talked to a few people. I talked to Connell, I talked to Michelle, I talked to Kwai, and everybody loved the idea. Well, just before this gathering, Michelle called me up and said, "It's happening." And I was like, "What's happening?" "Dance church." I had no idea. But she had a friend, Keri, who had a school project to start some kind of community event. And Michelle had heard my idea and passed it along to her. And she created a few flyers and found a DJ, Atreya, and boom, it was there. It was the most amazing thing to me to have had an idea, you know, an inspiration, and just speak it, and it happened.
Why don't we do it at the 418 Project, or why don't we do a dancing at the 418 Project in the morning? And I said, great, sounds great. And within a day or two, we had figured out what time was available. Sunday morning from 9 to 11 was available, and it was kind of arbitrary, I think, that we picked that time, but it was this idea that it was perfect, basically. It was like Sunday morning, just like church, is the same time everyone else goes to church, except we all get together and dance together. And I went to school that day, and I made a flyer that said dance church, you know, the music, let the music be your pastor, and your dance be the sermon or something, and posted flyers around town and told everybody in the community about it, and we had our first dance church.
Atreya provided the music, and Connell did the altar, and Keri did the flyers, and all I did was have an idea.
It was amazing, the turnout, even on the first morning. Atreya had told me that when he first started Monday night, it took weeks for people to come. There was only a few people, and there were tons of people the very first time.
I had been dancing at Dance Jam for about 4 years, and I really enjoyed the space and the energy there, and I learned a lot about dancing. But there was always something missing. The piece that I was most interested in was the spiritual side of dancing. That's what I seemed to get most out of, and something about dancing at night just seemed to miss that. So a friend of mine in San Francisco had a dance church on a Sunday night, and I kind of stole his idea, but thought it would be really nice to have it be Saturday or Sunday morning rather, just to kind of lose some of that kind of lower chakra energy from nighttime and move it up into a higher place for a Sunday morning.
I think when I first suggested it, we had to tell her, Tandy, what we were planning on doing, and she would approve it. And I basically wrote out, you know, this is what I'm going to do, and I showed her a flyer, and I think she was a little skeptical, you know, like, well, how much? She asked me a lot of kind of pointed questions, like, well, you know, is this sustainable, and how much are you going to pay for the space, and can you afford that, and what if it flops? And she was concerned about the whole thing. And she was just here a couple of months ago at Dance Church and came up to me and was like, whoa, it's still going. And it was a neat moment just to acknowledge, for me to remember that it totally originated and she had this conversation with me about how she had just been considering whether or not to keep those volunteers hours as part of the curriculum of this class that I took, that she's still teaching. And I was her witnessing that it was still happening, and my experience of gratification of having contributed to the community in such a way was a real pivotal factor in her deciding to keep those volunteer hours as part of her curriculum. It was about it being Sunday morning, the time, you know, all of us being fairly fairly non-traditional religious type people who were really devoted to the, dare I say, the spiritual experience of dance, or the devotion to that process and that experience and the community around it, being kind of the congregation, and just the extremely loose metaphor of our community being somewhat of a devoted community. There was this intention of having an altar every week, so the altar was a really physical representation of the reverent quality of dance church and the spiritual aspect of it, of coming to move and dance with a quality of devotion and reverence. But to watch people come and be there early and just be waking up, and the brightness and the light and the unveiledness of it, it's like we're all coming and there's no hiding. It's bright in that room. There's no hiding. Everyone is out, seen, exposed, and emerging into their day and into their expression and into each other, into relationship with each other. In the beginning, people tend to be kind of more contracted and in their own space, and then slowly, as the hours pass, there's this really cohesed energy that's created in the room, and people sharing and dancing together, and a lot of really high interactive kind of energy. To a degree, dance church and the people who are there have become kind of the foundation of my community. And my sense is that that's been really true for a whole lot of people.
There's something about being Sunday morning. You know, I went to church a good bit when I was young, and Sunday mornings are a really quiet time, and yeah, there's just something special to me about dancing in the morning too. It's just a completely different experience. Your body's just waking up. You've got more energy. You get to take the time to loosen up slowly. It's a wonderful way to wake up.
Talking about all this is making me reflect on how much that was the beginning of dance. The beginning of dance church was the beginning of me really having the 418 project be basically my home, my second home, and how I quickly was starting a business here, and then I was becoming the executive director, and it all kind of just fell in my lap. People just come because they want to and create the same experience of reverence and connection and community and ecstasy over and over, week after week after week after week, just because they want to. There's no one making it happen. There's no one, you know, everyone shows up week after week after week and pays money just so they can have that experience. It was neat for me to be this tiny little spark of initiation. I mean, really, I experienced just like a little tiny spark, and then it completely took on a life of its own, and I didn't really do anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's magic. that was the biggest magic I've ever experienced in my life, even I would say.
Wow.